What is up, YouTube? IMO here, bringing you my second segment of my BF1 skill build guide / tips. This time around, being my old warrior camper named Mini Tank from my old guild 13XII. Now, never mind that. Let's begin and start with the skill build, shall we? Okay, so a warrior for BF1 has not many different skill builds that he can run. Basically, the skill build you see right now is the top most efficient skill build you can possibly get on a BF1 warrior. So this skill build includes Wild Swing Volume 3, Hemorrhage Volume 3, Parry Volume 1, Bull Rush Volume 1, and of course, Wild Charge Volume 1. Now, I'll be giving you a brief description of what every skill can and benefit you as a warrior on BF1 and your teammates. Let's get started with a Wild Swing. Now, Wild Swing is a skill that has access to a Volume 4, which does 160% addition at its peak. It does 20% addition at Volume 1, 40% addition at Volume 2, and 80% addition at Volume 3. Its level required is level 2. It doesn't use Rage Crystals. It requires no casting. It's a close-up range attack for soloing one enemy or one target. Its duration is an instant, and its cooldown is about or approximately 5 seconds. Now, this basic skill has no extra effects, it just deals damage. It's not really recommended to run this at Volume 4, so ignore the Volume 4. It's only recommended to run this at Volume 3, since it's going to be your second primary attack skill. Now, this skill is used for giving you Rage Crystals, since it doesn't waste Rage Crystals. And I'll be giving this skill a rating of 3, since it's your second primary attack skill. Now, moving on. Taunting Blow. Taunting Blow is a skill that most warriors, any level, don't really use. So I'll be giving this a rating of 1. Why? You might be asking why a rating of 1. I'm giving this skill a rating of 1 because it's really not efficient or effective to run this either at Volume 3 or Volume 1, because the damage it does is very little compared to your Wild Swing, your Hemo, your Drowsy, and your counter attack, etc, etc. Plus, this effect is not really helpful either, so you'll just be wasting Rage Crystals and time. Now, this skill requires 2 Rage Crystals. It doesn't have any casting time. It's a close-up range attack targeting one enemy. Its duration is instant, and its cooldown is a long 20 seconds. The maximum level for this available is level 2, so anything level 2 isn't required, as well as level 1. I do not recommend this skill for any skill build, since it wastes a significant amount of Rage Crystals, whereas you could waste those Rage Crystals on some more important skills like Hemo, Drowsy, and etc, etc. Now, moving on. Hemorrhage. Hemorrhage requires level 5, and the description says slashes the enemy to inflict continuous damage with the 5th chance. Now, this skill does 2 damage per tick. It's a side continuous effect. Does 2 damage per tick at Volume 1, 4 damage per tick at Volume 2, and 8 damage per tick at Volume 3. Volume 4, 16 damage per tick. Volume 4 does not assist for this skill. The maximum level for this skill is Volume 3. Now, this skill gets a rating of 3. Now, I'll explain to you why it gets a rating of 3. I gave this skill a rating of 3 because it's your most important skill for a BF1 warrior. Well, most important attack skill for a BF1 warrior. It does damage. Besides the damage, it gives the enemy an infected status of hemo, meaning bleed. They bleed. It's recommended to run this at volume 3. So once you use the skill, you infect your target, making them bleed for 8 damage per tick. It's basically the opposite of the ranger using Thorns 3, which does also 8 damage per touching the warrior or the ranger with physical attacks. This skill also prevents most of your targets to have a hard time using Whoopami, Donguru juice, bandages, etc. Because they're taking continuous damage and they're not standing still. It makes them harder to use those items to regenerate their mana/HP. This skill uses 2 Rage Crystals. It doesn't require casting. It's a single enemy target. Its duration is 15 seconds. And its cooltime is 1 second. Cooltime being very little. Each tick only lasts for 3 seconds. This skill also goes through shield. So if they have a shield on, you use the skill on them. They still, if you're running volume 3, whatever volume you're running, they're gonna get that tick damage or bleeding damage. It's a main skill for a warrior, so it's very essential. Because of this, it's also very good because it prevents you when you infect someone with it. It also prevents your opponent to not run away, as in use the recall scroll to recall from battlefield, which I don't understand why people do that. Now this skill, like I said, gets a rating of 3. Main warrior skill for BF1. Now moving on. Parry. Parry is one of those defensive skills that I categorize as into the defensive type skill. Now Parry requires level 5. It's a passive skill, meaning it's active all the time. It blocks an attack with weapon with a set probability. It doesn't require Rage Crystal, no casting. It's a single target, meaning you, no duration, no cooltime. This skill does a good combination with its with counter attack. But we're not into counter attack yet, so let's keep talking about Parry. Parry does the level 1 at volume 1 gives you a 1% addition to the block and attack. Volume 2, 2% addition. Volume 3, 4% addition. And volume 4, 8% addition. Now this skill, Parry, is only recommended to run it at volume 1. Because this skill, it's not really recommended since you won't be running counter attack to use volume 3, etc. I run this at volume 1, or I used to run this at volume 1 because volume 1 just gives you that block attack you need for BF1. Plus it also gives you, once you put a skill point into volume 1, it grants you access to use your third primary skill named counter attack. So like I said, it's only recommended to put it at volume 1 since anything more than volume 3, you're gonna be wasting other skill points on more important skills like your bull rush, drowsiness, or wild charge. So I'll be giving this a rating of 2 in between since it has cons and pros. Now moving on, counter attack. Now counter attack is one of those skills that has pros and cons. Let me tell you why. Counterattack requires level 5 and the description reads an instant counterattack only available after blocking an enemy strike. Meaning you have by force have to have parry because without parry your warrior doesn't get the animation that says block. So you need parry in order to use counterattack. No point in having parry if you don't have counterattack. Or no point in having counterattack with skill points if you don't have no skill points on parry because it won't work. Now this skill, counterattack, doesn't use Rage Crystal. It requires no casting. It's a single target enemy, meaning it only targets close range on one enemy. Its duration is instant. Its cooltime is 5 seconds. And it, like, you could use this skill as, this skill is usable in an instant after like 5 seconds cooltime. Like, once you block, let's say you block 2 attacks, you use it once, you have to wait 5 seconds. It's relatively a very low cooltime. So you block 2 attacks, you use it once, you wait 5 seconds, you could use it again, etc., etc. The maximum level for this is only at its peak at volume 3. Volume 1 does 140% addition, Volume 2 does 160%, and Volume 3 being 180, while Volume 4, aka IV, does 200%. It's really not recommended to run this skill since you already have your 2 primary skills, which is Wild Swing being your secondary most important attack skill, and Hemorrhage being your first primary skill. So I'll be giving this a rating of 2. Why a rating of 2? Because you could either decide to switch all 3 skill points on Wild Swing and put it onto onto counterattack. Which I've tested it before, but it's rather better to use Wild Swing since Wild Swing is a sure attack that you always have it there for you, and Parry, if you're fighting mages, you can't use counterattack because it's relatively rare to block a mage's attack or to have that block animation. So it won't work and you'll be losing your second primary attack skill. Now moving on, Bull Rush. Bull Rush requires level 10. Its description reads, increases the movement speed. Volume 1 increases 24%, Volume 2 being 36%, Volume 3 being 48%, and Volume 4 60%. Volume 4 doesn't currently exist in the world of Magic at the moment, so your maximum peak for as of now is Volume 3. Now, it's really only recommended to run this skill at its Volume 1. This skill is, I categorize this skill into the support type. Why support? Because this skill adds offensive and defensive to your warrior. It nullifies the effect of freeze. When, let's say, a mage freezes you, you could just click on Bull Rush and you break free. It also gives you movement speed increase. Since you're going to be running at 24, it gives you that like a speed pod, movement speed. So you can use this skill either to get unfrozen or to chase your enemies that are trying to get away. This skill doesn't use Rage Crystal, no casting. Its target, you target yourself. Its duration, it lasts for 8 seconds, and its cooltime is 20 seconds. Now, this skill, I'll be giving a rating of 3. Now, moving on. Drowsiness. Drowsiness, I fit this skill into the support category as well as Bull Rush. Its level requires level 10. Its description reads, inflicts half damage and slows down the enemy for a short period with the fixed chance. Volume 1 for 5 seconds, Volume 2 for 6 seconds, Volume 3 for 7 seconds, Volume 4 for 8 seconds. So, it's only recommended to run the skill at its Volume 1, since Volume 1 is the only maximum level available. This skill doesn't use mana. It wastes 2 Rage Crystals, no casting. It's only a close distance, 1 target. Its duration is 5 through 8 seconds. Its cooltime is 1 second. It deals half the damage, but slows down the target's movement, depending on the value. Since Volume 1 is just 5 seconds, so you'll be slowing your opponents with 5 seconds. This skill gets a rating of 3. Why is 3? Because this skill, being with Bull Rush, adds offensive and defensive. It works really great for escaping enemies, slowing them down, It works really well with Bull Rush, since let's say your opponent is trying to run away. You use Bull Rush, you chase them, catch them, drowsiness, slow them down, wild swing them to get your rage crystals, then infect them with Hemorrhage. This skill also adds very much defense and defense to your whole team or party, because slowing down your enemies, meaning you slow them down with half the speed for 5 seconds, while your other teammates may also chase them and finish them off. Now moving on. Getting also a rating of 3 is Wild Charge. Now Wild Charge requires level 10. Its description reads, charges the target within a certain range, causing a stun. Volume 1 has a cooldown of 15 seconds, Volume 2 cooldown of 14 seconds, Volume 3 a cooldown at 13 seconds, and Volume 4 a cooldown at 12 seconds. It doesn't require mana, no rage crystals required, no casting. It's a single target enemy. Its duration is instant, meaning you use it, boom, it's instant. Its cooldown is 12 through 15 seconds of cooldown. Its maximum level available is 3. This skill falls also into the support category, as well as Bull Rush and Drowsiness. This skill works relatively good with Bull Rush and Drowsiness. Let me tell you why. Let's say your opponent is running away. You can use Bull Rush to chase them. And let's say your Bull Rush is the duration effect or the buff effect is running out. It's about to run out, and you still couldn't catch up to your opponent to use your Drowsiness. Once you reach far into the far or relatively close to them, or at a certain range, you could use Wild Charge, since it's a range attack, to stun them for a certain amount of time. Once you stun them, you have the chance of using your Drowsiness to slow them down. Then use the same process repeated, Wild Swing, to get your rage crystals back in order to use Hemorrhage to infect them. It also works really good. It doesn't work on shield enemies who have shield, who have a shield on, meaning you still get close to them, but you won't stun them since they have the shield. This skill is also very good because it also breaks out of shield as well as Bull Rush. It breaks out of a freezing buff or freeze effect, because same as Bull Rush. Now, Bull Rush, Drowsiness, and Wild Charge are really recommended to run only at Volume 1. These 3 skills fall into the support category and are the most staples for your warrior, meaning if you don't like my build that I have right now, you may run any different build, but you must include these 3 attacks, because without Bull Rush, Wild Charge, or Wild Charge, you can't survive on BF1 as a warrior. And without Drowsiness or Hemorrhage, your warrior is typically useless. So it's really recommended, and I really think this is the only build a warrior can run. Now that I said everything and gave you a description, let me show you how to set up your skill so you have the best effect using them. I have Bull Rush being the first from bottom to top, Wild Charge being at the second bottom, then Drowsiness, then Wild Charge, and then Hemorrhage. I made it like this because it's relatively easy to use it. Let me give you an example. Your opponent is running away. You use Bull Rush. You chase him. Your Bull Rush is running out. You stun them. Then you just clip from bottom down like this. It just goes in order, because you chase them with Bull Rush. You reach them with a Wild Charge. Stun them. Slow them down. Get your crystals back that you wasted using Drowsiness. Then infect them, etc., etc. It's relatively easy how I set it up. Now that I told you everything about the skill build, I want you guys to comment below and tell me if you like the skill build, or if you or any other different skill build that you guys think a warrior can intentionally or use. Because I really think, or in my opinion, I really think this is the only skill build a warrior can run to its best capabilities. being they don't have really that many good skills. Now, thank you for watching, guys, and I want you, please like, subscribe, and soon or by tomorrow I'll try to upload the Ranger skill guide, followed by the stat guide and the equipment guide for all three classes. But for now, I'm only doing the skill guides. Thank you for watching, and be back, YouTube.